Welcome, my friends, to the Sage of Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, my very special guest is Patricia Steere. Patricia is the host of the popular YouTube channel Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. The discussion with Patricia was wide-ranging as we talk about the Flat Earth movement, her thoughts on what it means, and how she handles the naysayers, deniers, and those who make it their business to engage in personal attacks. And to kick the show off, I asked Patricia if she could tell us about her journey in life. And here is what she had to say.
Wow, do you want me to start at the very beginning?
You can if you like.
All right. Born in 1963 in Spokane, Washington. First child of my mother and father. She was a homemaker, and my dad was a radio station disc jockey working at a radio station there. And he had worked at other radio stations in other radio markets in other parts of the United States. And his father, my grandfather, owned a radio station before him, but he didn't work for his father. He went out on his own, and that's why he was in Washington State at the time. But his father was getting older, a little ill, and his father had a radio station in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he was near his deathbed, or at least it wasn't looking so good. He was still fine, but, you could see he was ready to retire and take it easy. So my father and mother, after I was born about 1 year, we moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I grew up there for a large percentage of my life and ended up actually, as time went on, post-high school, working at that radio station that my grandfather had owned and that my father eventually managed and ran and owned. So it was really neat that I actually got to be a part of that sort of three-generation radio station thing. I probably would have been a co-owner with my sister and brother of that radio station. However, my dad sold the station in the 80s. He had made a mistake, miscalculation in the radio world, and didn't go FM. No. When an AM radio station was quite popular in the 60s, 70s and on. But, FM started coming up, and he didn't go FM with the station, so it wasn't doing too well. And anyway, he ended up selling it, and life went on. So I started a radio career that way, in the footsteps of my grandfather and my father, and actually even worked with my father on the air, which was really great. He and this other man, the general manager of the radio station, did a morning show, and they used pseudonyms, so it wouldn't be Steere Broadcasting Corporation and David Steere doing the show. He used the name Doc Holliday because he liked the Old West, and his friend, also coworker in management at the station, did the show, and they did this duo. And I started doing on-air DJing late night at this radio station, but got a little better and wanted to branch out and started doing news, morning news. And so I did the morning news with my father. And so twice an hour, at the bottom of the hour and the top of the hour, I would join them and then do the newscast. And then after the newscast, I'd have a little banter with the two morning guys. Anybody who's ever listened to radio, these days we're listening to YouTube podcasts and such, but people used to listen to radio a long time ago. And, it was that witty banter that's after the news or the sidekick, and I was kind of the sidekick. And it was great, a great experience. My father is now dead, and I do treasure the memories that I had with my father in general, but actually being in his world, which became my world on the air. It was a fantastic thing.
Now, what made you decide then to get into YouTube and doing your internet radio shows and your interviews now?
Lots of things transpired between then, because that was in the 80s. I graduated high school in 81 and was at my dad's station right after that. I went through a bunch of different areas in radio, moving throughout from Michigan into California and beyond. Wound up in New Orleans doing radio there, and then wound up not doing radio there anymore because radio changed. Anybody who followed radio may have noticed that small companies with independently produced content and being able to control their own stuff got bought up by big conglomerates. And you as an air talent or radio personality didn't really have control of what your topics would be or what you would say. So I just had enough of it. I was done with it. You couldn't really be creative anymore. So I kind of got out of radio, ended up owning a clothing store in New Orleans, which was fun. But while owning this clothing store, because I owned it and I was the only employee, I guess you could say, there was dead times in New Orleans. It's a tourist town. And so there are times of the year when it's jam-packed and you'd make, money hand over fist. A women's boutique clothing store is what I owned. Then there were other times you'd go 3 hours in the store with not a soul coming in. And I had a computer there, no boss to tell me what to do. So I started looking at stuff on YouTube. And I looked at, vintage clothing stuff at first, and then, this and that. And then I don't know what caused me to start looking at the moon landing. It just came up somehow, and I wish I know how it happened, but moon landing stuff happened. I looked at that and realized that we never went to the moon.
Yep.
And learned about that and went through, looking at video after video after video. And that led me to a suggested video on YouTube, which was Flat Earth Clues by Mark Sargent. And I thought, oh, what's that? Click. And watched it, and it changed my life. And a lot of people, when they see something like Flat Earth, will ignore or dismiss. I don't remember it ever crossing my path and dismissing it. Maybe it did and I don't recall. But I do remember seeing it and thinking, that looks interesting, as opposed to seeing it and thinking, that looks ridiculous. So already I was intrigued. I'd already figured out 9/11, figured out a lot of other things. Then the moon thing, which I can't believe I ever really actively believed in the first place. Being the age I am, I grew up with that.
Right, me too.
Exactly. And so I never questioned it that much, but I do remember as a child watching on TV and thinking, when they would show the cartoon of a rocket, that it was a cartoon, not real. But I thought to myself, well, that's because they don't have a camera in space.
Right, that's right.
I just wrote it off as even with a child's mind. But only a child, now I look at it, only a child would really believe that now, it seems. I mean, you have to investigate. That doesn't mean people who still believe in it are children. But you really have to look at it, and once you look at it, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee the fact about that.
Yeah, that's very important, is the fact that, like you said, once you see it, there is no going back.
Right. Those Flat Earth clues, though, blew my mind. I looked at those, and this was later, much later. I sold my clothing store. I moved from New Orleans, Louisiana to Houston, Texas. And it was about March of 2015 when I clicked on Flat Earth Clues. So a lot of investigation had gone in the interim on the moon and, 9/11 and et cetera. So anyway, clicked on Flat Earth Clues, living in Houston. And it changed my world. Not just Flat Earth Clues, because although that was a valuable introductory look into Flat Earth, it's very 101 basic.
Right.
It just gives you an outline. And it's a particular outline with a particular point of view about the Flat Earth. And I wanted all the views on Flat Earth. So I immediately started looking at all the what are now known as top Flat Earthers and viewpoints. I didn't know who these people were. Eric Dubay, Matt Powerland. Who are these? They weren't even names. They were just other videos that I clicked on and watched all of it. And then just let it brew inside of me, and started thinking about life. Where do I live? Who am I? How did I get here? Is there a God? What does this all mean? We're not really on a ball. And it just, this is heady stuff. This went on for quite some time. And that was March 2015. And all the way through several months, I continued living a normal life, but I was doing different things, meaning obsessively watching YouTube videos, subscribing to channels, and just going insane in my own head, not really telling anybody about it, and looking at the sky at night, and just looking up at the moon and thinking, I'm on a flat, stationary plane. I'm not moving. That up there is moving. Wait a minute. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah. And
anybody who's gone through this will know what I'm talking about. And those who don't believe there's a flat Earth, go with me on this. It's your whole world paradigm changing, and you're just, it's insane. So anyway, I decided one day that I needed to do something about this, because although there were other conspiracy type things that I had discovered or figured out, this was big and it was happening now. I can't do anything about 9/11. People have tried to do things about 9/11.
Right.
And I'm all for anybody trying to find the truth of 9/11. But it's not the same as this flat Earth thing, which is something that's happening now in my lifetime. The JFK thing, fascinating. We need to get to the bottom of all of these things. And I still talk about all of these things now. But this one was active and now and happening in my lifetime. And I know 9/11 happened in my lifetime too, but I wasn't aware of what was going on while it was happening. This flat earth thing, I'm aware of it while it's happening, and I found out about it relatively new into the movement, or the re-movement. People have been thinking about the flat earth for decades, hundreds of years, but it got swept under the rug, and now it's back out again, and people are giving it a fresh look. But I'm vegan, and I have a bunch of Facebook friends who are also vegan. And one of them was a guy named Michael, and he had a channel called Stars Are Souls on YouTube. And I didn't know he had a channel, but I knew he was a vegan guy.
I remember that channel.
Yeah. And I used to post lots of vegan stuff on my Facebook page because I was a vegan activist of sorts. And I would post the different things I was eating each day, and I would post vegan memes and articles and videos. And well, then when Flat Earth started coming into my life, I didn't start posting about Flat Earth right away because I was still trying to figure out if I believed it. And even if it resonated with me, I still was trying to poke holes in it. This can't be, we can't be. I mean, really? And I started testing the waters by posting little occasional things on my Facebook. And somehow, and I don't know how it happened, Michael Lewis, who was a flat earther and a vegan, was my Facebook friend, also saw what I was posting. We somehow, although I don't remember how it happened, connected. And he said to me, I'm doing a documentary for my channel, which by that time I'd already subscribed to and figured out he was doing flat earth videos, and this was this guy. And I want you to be part of the documentary. And I'm like, how? I didn't even know. I watched YouTube videos but didn't understand really how they were made. I didn't know. It seemed like some technical thing that I wasn't capable of doing. I never considered really making a YouTube video, although I was thinking maybe I should start a YouTube vegan channel. I even got a name for the channel and was telling people that I was going to do it, but I never did it because it just, how do you do it? Too complicated. I need to go buy a camera, and that's, how you want to do something and then you never do it, and It just gets dusty on a shelf. That's what was happening with that idea, even if I was passionate about it. So Michael said, I want you to do, this with me. And I said, all right, what do we need to do? And he said, well, we'll do a Google Hangout. And I'm like, trust me, I didn't know. I said, what's a Google Hangout? I know I sound like an idiot, but I've never done it before. Whatever. At the time, I'm 52 years old, and I'm not that when you're 52, that's impossible, but to do a Google Hangout, but I had never had the opportunity, or it just never crossed my path. Anyway, so he said to me, you need to download this and that, and we discussed it, and he's like, what's a good day? And we had a good day, figured it out, and we did the back and forth thing with the Google Hangout, and it was so fun. So fun to see him there on the other side of the computer talking to me, and we were talking about things we were passionate about, and we were talking about veganism, but I got to talk about flat earth with a real human being, albeit through a computer screen, but still the very first time I've been able to talk about this thing that's in me and dying to get out, plus veganism. I was on top of the world, so to speak, and it was great. It was so fun. And I primarily talked about veganism. He told me the documentary would have a little section of me in there talking about veganism as a flat earther, and the rest would be other people interspersed. And I'm like, that's great. Wow, I'm going to be on YouTube. Cool. And talking about something I care about, two things I care about. And then after we were done, I was so filled with excitement. I just blurted out, Michael, will you do a show with me? I want to start a channel, and I want to do a show. And it's kind of like, let's put on a play, kids. I was just filled with this excitement. And he said, well, sure. And I'm thinking, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And he said, when do you want to do it? And I said, now, tomorrow, a week ago, let's do it. Anyway, we set up a time, and we started August 23rd of 2015, doing kind of like a two-person show. It wasn't really even a show. I didn't even have a headphone earpiece like I do now. I had no microphone. I was just speaking directly into my MacBook Pro, echoey, bad sound quality, rambling incoherently, although sometimes I do that now anyway, maybe even during this interview here. Just, I didn't know. I moved my hands around a lot. A lot of things were bad about it. But it was good in that I felt that I was contributing something.
Yeah.
I was maybe going to help one person. A video helped me see something I hadn't seen before. Maybe I could help one person. So we continued doing that for a while. I ended up getting a little Bluetooth earbud and ended up getting a microphone and got a little better and was able to figure out how to run a Google Hangout without a bunch of feedback. That took a long time. Michael said he needed to go move into the private sector, and he didn't want to be involved anymore with doing YouTube videos or Flat Earth, although he remained a Flat Earther. Who knows, he may come back. He might even be back at the time that this plays or the time somebody hears what we're doing today. But at the time, he said he needed to step away. And he took many of his videos down from the Stars Our Souls channel, if not completely closed the channel, I don't know, including the documentary he put together with me in it with the vegan aspect.
Yeah, everybody was wondering what happened to him.
That's what happened. Nothing bad happened to him. He's totally fine, still living in Florida. He's still on Facebook, posts Flat Earth stuff, vegan stuff, and he's got a good job now, and he may come back, or like I said, he may already be back with Flat Earth videos, or he may stay away from it forever. But his belief about it is still there. And his conviction about veganism remains too. So he's still on Facebook. But he decided to bow out. And then I found myself, I could continue doing a show alone, but I'm not maybe strong enough or comfortable enough to do that yet. And at that same time, I got a response to something that I had sent out a while ago via a email message. And that was an email I sent to Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent always puts his phone number, and he has email address as well in all of his Flat Earth Clues videos.
Right.
And because his video was the first video I ever saw, I wanted to thank him for it. And so I wrote him an email because he sort of changed my world, although many other people's videos influenced me later. That was the first one. So I wrote him this, I want to thank you, blah, 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 et cetera, Patricia Steere, and sent that to him. And at the same time as well, on my very first video with Stars Our Souls, there was a comment from Mark Sargent that said, "Great job." And I thought, oh, wow, that's cool. Mark Sargent saw this video. That's crazy. And I thought, that's sad he never answered that email I sent. Oh, well, he's like a well-known guy. He's probably never going to answer any emails. And then I went on and did a couple shows with Stars Our Souls, like I said before. But anyway, I got this message back after I'd already done some shows. And it was Mark Sargent responding to my email saying, oh, hey, you can always call me. Let's talk. And I thought, oh, I guess he does know that I'm that person that wrote, that the person he commented on the video. So I called him, and he had no idea. I'm like, well, yeah, I did videos. And he's like, you do videos? And I said, yeah. And I told him the video, and he said, oh, I commented. And I said, yes. And we started talking, and we were like basically talking over each other with like happiness and excitement about Flat Earth and life and movies that we both liked. It was a really great conversation. And we kept in touch after that via email. And then one day he said to me, hey, there's not that many women in Flat Earth at that time anyway. There's a few. But would you be on my show? I do the show called Strange World. And I'm like, trust me, I listen to every Strange World. I would love to do your show. How do you do it? And it's on Skype. And I'm like, Skype? I don't know how to do Skype. What do you do? So I felt like it was Google Hangout Lesson 101 all over again. So anyway, we did that, did an interview show with him. And I don't know. It was fine, but that was it. And after that, I thought, well, I should interview Mark Sargent on my show because I don't have no more Michael Lewis. So I'll just get Mark Sargent, or I'll try. I asked him, and he said, sure, I'd love to. Because anybody who knows Mark Sargent is knowledgeable about the fact that he loves doing interviews. He will do whatever he can, anytime he can, to spread the word about Flat Earth. He does interviews on like college radio stations. He doesn't monetize any of his content either. So people can take his stuff and then put it on their own channel and monetize it, and he doesn't care. So you can see that he's doing it from the heart, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I did an interview with Mark on his thing, Strange World, and then he was on my show. And I still continued interviewing various Flat Earthers, and still do to this day. And then have been doing a regularly scheduled Monday thing with Mark, in which we discuss the latest Flat Earth news and happenings, and let people participate in an aspect of Google Hangouts called Q&A, when they ask questions, and we attempt anyway to answer them. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I got into doing my YouTube channel, which, by the way, is called Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And I discuss other hot potatoes as well within the Flat Earth realm. Like we might talk about chemtrails for a little while, or we might talk about GMO, or how to grow your own food, or, those sorts of things.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you, because the channel is not just about Flat Earth, that you have these other topics that you cover also.
That's probably because I've always been interested in those other things, and I was interested in those other things before I started doing Flat Earth, so I wanted to put them together. I have not yet had a person on, as far as I know, who wasn't a flat earther.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean I won't in the future. It just worked out that way that I've had people on who were experts in natural health and wellness, but also a flat earther. Or so-and-so, fill in the blank, and a flat earther.
Okay.
Being a prepper and a flat earther. So I've tried to tie those things together. But in the future, I might branch out and have people who weren't flat earthers, but at least were flat earth friendly. At least they weren't somebody who was railing against the flat earth and, kind of making protest signs against it, anti-flat earth videos. I don't know if I'll do that in the future, have a non-flat earther on, but possibly. But my show is really a chance for me to ask people questions that I was thinking about when I discovered their videos. The reason I decided to do an interview format is maybe twofold. One is because I did interviews in radio and I felt comfortable in that role. It was a natural role for me to ask questions. And I'm sure you feel that that's because you do that. That's what you do, and it feels right for you to do that. People ask me, why don't I do, videos where I'm showing experiments and animation, and I don't know how to do that, and I don't want to do that. That doesn't mean I don't love those things. I do. I love watching them. I enjoy them, and I get a lot out of them and learn. But that's just not the thing that I'm built for. I guess I'm built for this thing I do, and that's why I do it. And I feel excited to do it and comfortable doing it. So that's why I do the interview format. The other reason why I do it is when I first started as a flat earther, while I was in my house with, walking around with my iPhone, using it as a radio, kind of doing stuff in my house, walking around outside or in my car, listening to these YouTube videos, I would think, who is blah, blah, blah? Why is he a flat earther? How did he discover flat earth? I really like his videos. Or who is this woman? What's her story? Why is she a flat earther? What did she go through? What does her family think? Where does she live? How old is she? These are the questions that cross my mind. And when I first started doing it, before I started doing it, I thought, I want to know, and I can make a show and ask people those questions. And it gives me that chance to sate my own curiosity, and also lets the YouTube content providers become more human, or humanizes them in the eyes of their listening audience. We get to know so-and-so has 3 daughters, or so-and-so has a dog, and the dog is named this name, and that dog is related to Flat Earth because that person goes around the United States with this dog and takes pictures of the dog in the video with and puts a Flat Earth icon on the dog. I know these things sound very unimportant and ridiculous, but in a way they're not. Everybody in Flat Earth and all of us that are on YouTube are just, either you're doing a video where it's just your voice, or you're doing a video where it's just, your torso most of the time, or, we're not people, we're just these things talking. And with my channel, I felt like I could get to know the voice behind that and talk about their belief system in Flat Earth. Because there's a couple different models people believe in, more than a couple, tons of different models. And everybody who come to that model has come to it from a different perspective. Maybe they've come to it from the perspective of being Muslim, or they've come to it from become a deep Christian, or they were an atheist before, or they're an architect, or whatever their background is, that plays into who they are as a flat earther. I just wanted to get it out there. I wanted to know myself, and instead of just thinking into my head while I was listening to their videos, I just decided to go ahead and ask them. And I've had some people ask me, what's your motivation for doing this? Why do you do this? There's something wrong with you. Why do you have all this time to just talk to people about this? And I'm like, okay, my shows are max about 2 hours. I don't need to do heavy research. I've already listened to these people's videos because I'm interested in the topic. It's not like I need to read reams of material on them first. And I just ask them questions, just like you're asking me questions.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment that people make anyway, because my answer to that is because it's what I want to do.
Yes, why don't you do your show this way? I don't want to do my show that way.
Right, exactly.
I'm doing it. I might change it, sure, but that'll be because I want to change it, because I think it would be better for whatever purpose I'm trying to achieve, which is to just learn about things myself and help other people spread their information. Many of the people that I've had on my show have maybe only 3 videos under their belt. They're brand new.
Yeah.
Other people are the biggest names in flat Earth. So it's not, oh, I'm only going to interview people who are stars. Not that they're stars in flat Earth. Come on, there's not that. Even the people with the highest video count compared to people who are doing gaming videos or, shopping haul videos.
Right.
We have nothing compared to those people in the flat Earth community. But there are some big name flat Earthers. So I want to talk to them, and I want to talk to Joe Blow, who just started a channel yesterday, because that person it's me. It's also those big people in flat Earth. We're all the same, just on a trajectory, different path, a different level in our path as we're climbing up the flat Earth ladder, so to speak.
And it's a lot of really good people, smart people that have a lot of really good ideas and thoughts. And I know, Patricia, when I do the shows, I learn a lot from my guests. I never assume that I know more than my guests. And it's a very educational process for me also.
Oh, yes, definitely. I would say that every one of my guests knows more than I do. My questions are the basic kind of question that somebody might come across. I never try to challenge my guests with a trick question of any sort. I'm really not there for that.
Right.
I actually also express my own opinions. I'm not an unbiased interviewer. And people will say, well, you're a news reporter or you're doing a radio show. You should be unbiased. And my answer to that is, who says? I can do whatever I want. This is my show. I do it for free out of my apartment. I don't have a boss. I don't have a time clock. I don't have a structure. I can do the show standing on my head if I wish. I can do it the way I want to do it, whatever way I want to see fit. And the only thing a person who's listening to it or viewing it needs to do is either listen or turn it off.
Right.
There's only really two choices. And I welcome anyone to, check it out and learn something about the people behind the Flat Earth movement. It's really fascinating. And like you were saying, some really interesting, intelligent people. Maybe you're not even a flat earther. My channel might introduce you some people that you might want to listen to and find out what they have to offer. And their videos may change your mind or at least give you some ideas that may allow you to explore Flat Earth further.
Mark did an excellent job of packaging his Flat Earth clues. He really did an outstanding job. And like you said before, Patricia, it was a starting point for many, many people. For myself also. Those are the first videos that I watched. And I remember when I first came across it, somehow it came into my YouTube feed. And
me too. I don't know how.
I don't know how. And
Flat Earth Fairy. Zing.
And I looked at it and I thought to myself, what the heck is this? And something just said, just click it and watch it. And I did. I think what he did, was it 11 segments? I think it was something like that. 11.
It was 11 and then or 10, and then he came out with 1 to 2 more.
Okay.
Because he's got 12 right now at the date of the recording of this show.
Yeah. So, Mark, if you're listening to this, you did a great job. You got a lot of people started.
Yeah, he got a lot of people started, and a lot of people criticize him because they're incomplete. He doesn't talk about curvature. But the thing is that it's an outline, it's a sketch, and it's also an opinion piece on the way he looks at Flat Earth, his
right.
model. And then it's up to you, the viewer, to take it further. I would never buy a cookbook and expect that cookbook to tell me everything there is to do with making every single type of recipe on Earth. There's no such thing as that. You can go buy a basic cookbook and learn to cook. And then after that, if you're interested in cooking some kind of specific cuisine or branch out a little bit or up your techniques or become a master chef, buy a different book. But having that basic book, always a good start.
Right. It was his perspective, plain and simple. And for those folks that were complaining or whining that it didn't touch on this or he shouldn't have said that, whatever it may be, then those folks should spend their time getting their data and their research together and putting their own material out there. Everybody's an individual and everybody's going to present what it is that they feel like presenting. That was always kind of interesting to me, how people would knock and go after folks because they weren't saying or presenting what it is that the person that was watching wants them to say or wants them to present. It's kind of an interesting dynamic that goes on there. They expect us to cover all bases and to basically speak for them. It's kind of an interesting type of psychosis that goes on.
Yeah.
You need to speak for me. So, and then because I get emails too that say, well, you should have said this, you should have said that, you should have asked that question, and I just delete. I'm like, you know what? If you're that interested in asking
Do
those
your own
questions,
show.
do your own show. Exactly, exactly right.
And I do take constructive criticism. I do, try to be better all of the time. I do know that I am not perfect.
Right.
I do know that I miss key questions. Later, when I look at the interview, I say to myself, oh, here's one. There's a YouTuber, a great YouTuber. His name is The Morguile. He's a cool guy. We've interacted off of YouTube and not in person, but online, as well as I interviewed him on my show, and I wanted to ask him a question and forgot. And it's a question that it seems so simple that I can't believe I didn't ask it, which is, why is your name the Morguile? And it's one of those things. No one ever called me on that. Why didn't you ask him what his name is the Morguile? But it's one of those questions that I, as a listener, would have wondered, why didn't she ask that question? So, yeah, I mean, it's not an important question as to who he is in flat Earth in general, but it's one of those things. We all forget to ask questions. We all misanswer questions. We all run off on tangents, lose our place. Unless you're going to be reading from a script during an interview, or portions of your interview is read from a script, which some people do, and that makes them sound more polished and professional, of course. But, I'm never claimed to be polished or professional, although I've been critiqued for being too polished and professional, and that means I'm a shill. But, okay, I'm sorry that I speak relatively clearly, but I can't really help that. That's just how I was brought up. Sorry.
Patricia, how dare you articulate?
Yeah, and I use words incorrectly just like everyone else. So.
Well, we talked about this before we got started here, about the flat Earth community. And when we look at the different personalities that are presenting the topic. And, we have a very varied degree of personalities. Some of them it's my way or the highway, and others are a little more flexible. There are those that are deep into testing and research, and others which approach it from a more topical or generic perspective. So I was wondering if maybe you can share some of your thoughts on the community at large. What do you notice about the community? What are your likes and dislikes?
Well, right now, as of the recording of this, which is January 19th, 2016, it's at a certain state, but that state wasn't where it was different at the end of the year. Things have changed. So there's a different mood in the community. And I imagine that this will continue to be the case. Probably that's the same with any fringe topic or any topic like in the 9/11 community. There's this movement happening within the movement, and then that dissipates, and then something else comes up. So we go through that sort of thing. Like it's like jumping on paving stones. We jump to one, and then we rest a little bit, and we think the coast is clear, and we can jump to the other, and then there's some drama, and the stone is slippery, and some people fall off, and but then we manage to make that hurdle, and then we continue forward. So right now, where the community is, there's a divide in the fact that the map that many people used as a symbol for the flat Earth, the AE map, azimuthal equidistant map, AE is a lot easier to say for most of us, including me, that is being called into question as not being a real map. But, I mean, if you really are aware of what's going on, it's never been considered to be a real map. It's a projection. It's more of a symbol. And many people were trying to use that map to be a working map and a working model. And detractors of the flat Earth, people who are really anti-flat Earth, meaning they are promoting the way, things being the way they've always been.
Yeah, the
in our
heliocentric
lifetime.
model. Yeah.
Heliocentric model. The globe is where it's at. NASA's totally legit. Those people are saying, you guys don't even have a working model. Well, we're working on a working model.
Right.
I don't think that anybody says this is the model. This is how it is. I certainly don't say that and never have, but I do have a flat Earth keychain. I know that symbol of the flat Earth keychain isn't the symbol of the flat Earth, and I could actually blow that up and keep it in my car and use it to drive around the city or something. I could navigate from this map. I know that's not what it is. There's way more left to explore, but I do know that we're not moving and we're not spinning, and that there's no curve and we're on a flat plane. I can say those things are true. The rest, what is the moon? What are the stars? How does all this work? Everyone's trying to figure it out. And I like talking to different people about their viewpoints. But we're at that point now in Flat Earth, as of now, where there's a lot of drama and infighting, which has always been there. But the drama and infighting now is there is a particular flat earther who's, it seems, going anti-flat earth as we speak, saying that the model doesn't work, and if there's no model, there's no flat earth. And that to me makes absolutely no sense, but that person believes it does, and they have the right to have that opinion.
Right.
And people are choosing sides, which people already had chose sides in other areas long before. So it's just more division, more fighting. I stay out of all of the fighting. I'm not part of any particular camp or belief system. Aside from the earth is flat, we're not on a ball, and, we're not spinning. The rest of the things I hope that are figured out, and I wish people would stop fighting. But I can't control other people. I myself don't want to be controlled, so I would never try to control other people. But sometimes I'm saddened by this. I'm saddened by the childish antics, and I think that anybody who is new to Flat Earth, if they were to stumble upon this, would shake their head and say, what's wrong with these people? I didn't notice that level of infighting when I first clicked on that suggested Flat Earth Clues video. I didn't even know who these people were. They were just voices telling me things, and I enjoyed listening. Once I found out about the drama, it did depress me a bit. And there are days when it does get to me a little bit, but I realize that I have to be above it. And, even before Flat Earth, that's how I've always felt about all drama. Just fly above it all and, let everyone else sort it out. This is not for me to be the person sorting things out.
It's like that with all conspiracy research, though, right? Even you think about 9/11 and the different factions and the different belief systems and the different research and so on, and going at each other, right? And that's one of the things that gets thrown out there that says one of the reasons why 9/11 hasn't been solved yet from the standpoint of the alternative community coalescing and coming together is because we have a lot of infighting that goes on. And some will argue that that's because of controlled opposition, and clearly controlled opposition exists. So you're going to have the same thing in Flat Earth. And I get comfortable with it, Patricia, by just doing, it sounds like what you do. I know I'm not spinning around it. I'm in North Carolina. So in North Carolina, I'm supposed to be spinning around at 750 miles an hour. I'm not spinning around at 750 miles an hour. And I've taken, the binoculars down to the Carolina coast and to the beach, and I'm able to see ships, boats that are supposed to be beyond the curve, if you will, 6-7 miles out with a good pair of binoculars. They come right in. So they're not on a curve. So I think there's a lot of common sense types of approaches that people can take which helps stay above the fray. At least that's how I approach it. It sounds like you're doing the same thing. And quite frankly, if there are people out there that have changed their mind, or maybe they are controlled opposition, it comes down to this. If somebody's watching their material and what they're saying doesn't resonate, then don't watch their videos.
No matter how much fighting is going on, the old expression, the world keeps on turning, would be appropriate, but yet we can't use that one anymore. Life goes on. We'll use that one instead. Yes, there will be drama, there will be fighting, and it will all get sorted out, and it will just be gone. And then more will come up. There'll be a little period of peace, and then more will come up.
Right.
But yeah, there's a big focus on shills. Who's a shill? I mean, going back to your 9/11 thing, if you even mention Dr. Judy Wood, you're a shill.
Right.
It's, I would, like you're saying, all of the different conspiracies. Same thing. Wolfgang Halbig, if you mention him and Sandy Hook, you're a shill. No one's really allowed to just investigate something,
right,
look into something, and then find something that they've settled on as what resonates in their heart without being labeled a shill by somebody. So, and then you look outside of the conspiracy at the people who believe in the story as presented, and they think there's something wrong with you for believing any of it.
Right.
However it happened, it wasn't part of the original story that was presented by, whatever, CNN or the government, which is the same thing. But yeah. So yeah, there's almost no way to win. no matter what you do, no matter what you say, that could be the topic of this whole interview. There's no way to win. Someone's always going to tell you how to do your show, how to ask the questions, challenge you as to why you're even doing it in the first place, or what model you believe in. And there's always going to be fighting, and there's always going to be dissension. And there's no way to solve it. There's no way to silence people, and you wouldn't want to, because everyone's got a right to their viewpoint, and everybody's statement has a level of validity to it and needs to be heard. So there's nothing we can do aside from just sort of surf the waves.
And do our thing and keep plowing ahead.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Like I said, if people watch my shows and what I'm saying, what my guest is saying is resonating, then good, then stick around. Same with your shows. If the person that I have on is not resonating, or they're not doing anything for you, or you disagree, then just click and go elsewhere. And we'll get more into this, because I did want to talk to you a little bit about some of the commenting on YouTube.
The comment section.
Yeah.
Tread very carefully when entering a comment section anywhere.
But let me
Make sure your body is covered with Syrian passports so you don't get burned.
Now, what do you say to the deniers that claim that the flat Earth theory is a psyop, or it doesn't matter if the Earth is flat?
Well, those are two different camps. The psyop aspect is, they say that the government is doing this to us in order to distract us from the real conspiracies, like 9/11 and all the rest. But in my opinion, on the flat Earth, all of these things are valid. And this may sound like a large statement, but if we all were able to see the Earth was flat, we'd all be able to see what the control mechanism and grid is, and these other issues like 9/11 wouldn't ever happen. Now, maybe I'm crazy for saying that. It wouldn't undo those things that happened before, but we'd be able to kind of go to the top to some degree anyway, and get rid of those who are allowing this to happen. Of course, that's pie in the sky. That's probably never going to happen. Not everybody's ever going to agree that the Earth is flat. It's never going to be on Fox News. We're never going to have, our first flat president. These things aren't going to happen. But I believe through time, more and more people are going to start coming to this thought process, and then eventually maybe some changes will occur. But they'll be slow. They'll be slow. I want them to happen today, but if they happen today, I wouldn't know what to do. None of us would know what to do. We don't have a plan of how to run a country, or how to have free energy or water for everyone, and all of these other huge problems. The flat Earth doesn't solve problems by everyone just saying that Earth is flat, but it helps us know who's controlling us.
Right.
And then we might be able to solve the problems. But that's, I guess, a small answer to a much larger question that you just asked.
Because it really is the mother of all conspiracies, when you think about it. If they're going to lie about where you exist, then everything else kind of gets tucked in underneath that. So I think that's a very important aspect of it. And that's what intrigued me about it. And then once you start taking a look at their mind control and their propaganda mechanisms, like NASA, like Hubble, like the International Space Station, the European Space Agency, and so on, and you take a look at what they're presenting and what they're putting out there, and you and I had mentioned earlier, once you realize that this stuff is not real and it is propaganda, there's no going back. It's no matter, with me now, no matter what video I watch with regard to NASA, I see what they're doing.
I do too. I just saw SpaceX again blow up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a cartoon for kids.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to belittle somebody and saying they're a child if they believe it. That's not what I mean. But it's just, you see it as a cartoon for kids. And they treat us like kids. The real psyop is what is presented to us. The lies. That's the real psyop. We've all been psyoped. So flat Earth isn't the psyop.
Right.
The psyop is what we've been told about everything, from the story that they try to tell us that happened with the Arabs and box cutters who hate our freedoms. That's the psyop. It's all part of this big psyop. And flat Earth is, it's the Earth. It's underlying all of those things. So, yeah, we can only hope that it will come to light. But the psyop thing is one thing. People do. Anybody who's, I hate the term truther, but they call themselves, some of them do, a truther, truth seeker. who is focusing on strictly 9/11, or maybe they're doing an umbrella thing where they're doing Boston bombings, Sandy Hook, etc. And they won't look at flat Earth. They're the ones that say it's a psyop to distract from the conspiracies that they're concerned with. I don't say 9/11 is a conspiracy, as a psyop to distract from the flat Earth.
Right.
I see them all as being valid, and I think that seeing them all as being valid is, in my opinion, a better way to approach it. You might put them in a different order than I do as to what's more important. That's fine. But all of these things are things we're being lied to about, and all of these things are ways to dehumanize us. That's what they're trying to do. So let's get to work, people. We don't have to join hands and sing Kumbaya. We don't have to all believe the same thing. But the fact that they're trying to hurt us, it's a fact. All of these things.
Right.
So let's go forward now.
It's what interests me is the folks that completely toss out the Apollo moon landings, that they're a hoax. And there are people that have done tons and tons of research, and they say that NASA cannot be trusted on the Apollo missions.
Never a straight answer, but they believe that the ISS is up there right now.
Exactly, exactly, and it's very, very weird. And I'm going to say this, and so Jim, don't get upset with me because Jim's a friend of mine on Facebook. But when David Weiss had the quote unquote debate with Jim Fetzer, Jim completely does not believe, I should say, that the Apollo missions ever took place, that it was a hoax. But Jim will not in any way entertain the flat Earth.
No, I listened and watched that debate, and I think I really liked David's presentation.
David did a great job.
He had the slides. For those who haven't watched it, I encourage you to do so. And this is not to be little Jim Fetzer at all.
Right.
But I liked how David was just doing it as quickly as possible with those slides. He would say, next, next, next. And so I jokingly was calling him David Next Weiss for a while because it was like, next proof of flat Earth, next proof of flat Earth. So, and then after that, his part was done, David Weiss's, then Fetzer came in and he basically just said all of the traditional statements.
Yeah.
Just sort of, I don't want to say the word parroted, that sounds demeaning. He just repeated the standard line, the party line.
Right.
And it was disappointing that he wasn't even able to just think about it. Maybe. A little crack. Look
Right.
behind the curtain. Possible. Not even a blink.
No. And that's my best example because Jim is a very smart guy. But I agree with you.
He can uncover so much.
Right.
He's able to discern strong powers of discernment in so many areas. It's that one he won't. I wonder about that. I don't understand it. It's actually the most puzzling thing in this whole flat Earth or any sort of conspiracy thing. Why a person's able to look at some things and do this incredible work exposing X, let's call it. But then when Y comes along, like it's a metal garage door, slamming down. No, not even going to look at it. But wait a minute, you're the one who tells us to question all things and look at this, and you're the one. Why won't you look at this? I understand somebody saying, yeah, flat Earth, there's a lot there going on. It's not what I want to talk about.
Right.
And I'm not going to talk about it. Please feel free to talk about it. I encourage you. But yet, my show's going to be about X. But that's fair. You want to make your content on a certain level. If you're a content provider, or you're a blogger, or you're a book writer, that's fine. But just to say that is completely not valid, it calls that person into question in my heart.
And not take any effort to really look at it. That's
Yeah.
more troubling than anything else. Is that you're making a comment and a statement, but you haven't really looked at it. And you may have looked at it, you think you've looked at it based upon textbooks and what you've been indoctrinated with, based upon what science has put forth, the heliocentric model, but you didn't spend any time studying the geocentric model. And so it does become a little disappointing. Let me ask you, because I don't want to, you're being very generous with your time, and I don't want to, I know you're not feeling too well.
Oh, I have a headache at this time.
Yeah. Let me try to move it along.
I hope I
Patricia.
haven't, lost track of what I've said at any time.
No, you're doing great. YouTube comments. Now, I personally do not allow comments on my interviews. I will on my guitar videos. I do these guitar videos also. but not on the interviews.
I've thought of turning my comments off many a day. And I know Mark Sargent, when he first did his Flat Earth Clues, had his comments turned off because he just didn't want to have the fighting that he knew would happen, as I've asked him why he did that. And then there came a moment when he said, all right, enough people have seen the clues and all the work by all the other flat earthers, new and established, and I think people are ready to, at least on my channel, at least maybe be civil. And so he enabled his comments, but he doesn't read his comments. He doesn't respond to his comments.
Okay.
And some would say, well, then he's out of touch with what the people are thinking. Maybe so. But yet he doesn't have a headache like I do, caused by reading comments or, by just dealing with the drama that goes on in comments.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So you do read them?
I read them, and I actually respond, and I thank people, and I take that time to do that because I want people to understand that I'm a real person, not a robot. I'm here for genuine reasons because I'm compelled to by a force beyond my control to do something about this major issue. And I wanted to just have that interaction with people and get their ideas and thoughts. Now, lately I've been thinking, because my channel's grown a bit, that I'm going to no longer be able to do that because I've got over 50 plus interviews at this time, and even back, my comments are being made on videos I did months ago, so it's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of not commenting anymore and letting them just run wild. Then, of course, I'll be accused of not caring, and, there's no way to win. You disable your comments. You're like, I don't trust a person who disables their comments. You enable your comments and don't monitor them. They're out of touch with what people are saying. You monitor your comments. She spends way too much time in here monitoring her comments, so she really has absolutely nothing to do with her life, so she must be a government-controlled shill who's only focusing on flat Earth. There's no way to win, so I guess I'll do whatever I feel like doing. As my channel grows, I'm going to have to cease responding to comments, because I just don't have the time.
What do you do with the nasty stuff? Because there's a lot of folks out there that they spend their time putting a lot of ugly stuff in the comment section. It's one of the reasons why I don't do it, Patricia, because first of all, I want the focus of the video to be on my guest and not underneath the sideshow, the circus that takes place once you have all of these knuckleheads come in and they have nothing nice to say whatsoever. And some of it is downright nasty.
Oh,
and
vulgar.
It's vulgar.
Sexual insults.
Yeah.
I don't present myself in a sexual fashion, but guess what? What if I felt like doing that? That doesn't give somebody a right to demean me. If I have a guest on who happens to have big breasts, which I have had once, she didn't create those big breasts. That's her body. She could wear a potato sack and those big breasts would still be there. She got lots of comments about it, both positive and also negative, calling her a bimbo because of a body part. I get comments that my hair, which is naturally red, is a wig. On and on with that. That's not the topic of my show.
Right.
Wigs or boobs. So the topic of my show is whatever the guest is talking about. So those sorts of comments, I had two policies. When I first started, it was enable all. Well, first it was police the comments and get rid of all the ones that were nasty. Not the ones that said, I don't believe in flat Earth. I leave those, because people have a right to express that. Or the ones that were critical, saying, yeah, I liked your interview with so-and-so, but why didn't you ask them this question? I'd leave those too. But I'd take out the ones that were, incredibly insulting and vulgar to myself or my guest or to flat Earth in general. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, policing comments, that's unfair. People need to be able to speak and say whatever they want. So I started doing enable all comments, which is a function on YouTube. You can just click this box and they are all enabled. And then, of course, I would look and see what was there. And it was 1 million what are called sock accounts, I think. These people who create, it's one person, or maybe a team, I don't know, who create 50, 60, 70 different sock accounts.
Yeah.
Or sock puppet accounts. They're fake accounts. They're not real. They're one person acting under these various names. And they'll even have conversations and arguments with each other to make them seem valid in the comment section. And I would see all of that and say to myself, look, I'm going to have to ban some people. So then I went through this phase of time where I was, blocking people. My block list literally would be that red carpet that you see, you know, in cartoons or on TV shows or royalty that just unrolls and rolls on forever. That would be the list of people I've blocked. But it doesn't matter. You can block and, you know, it's like a reptile where the tail grows back.
Right.
They'll be back with another name in 50 seconds and say similar things. So you can't really block them. They'll be back. And probably the best thing to do is enable your comments. Don't police your comments. And just let them say any vulgar thing they want. Because in the end, everybody who's actually serious will realize those people are jerks and just move away from them, and they'll burn themselves out screaming to nobody with no answer. But it is hard because when you're personally attacked, when your very humanity is attacked. I mean, I've been told I'm not even a real person, that I'm a reptile. You know, you're reptilian, you're shape-shifting during your show. Or we looked into your background and your mother and father never existed. We found 3 different death dates for your mother. These kinds of questions, that means you're fake. You have the word CIA in your name. That means you're in the CIA and you're here to ruin flat Earth. All of these types of things you read in your comments and you shake your head about humanity. And you think, I could delete it, I could leave it, it's going to be more tomorrow. So I'm going to do a new policy. You know, people who buy a beautiful home and they have a manicured lawn, that's a lot of work.
Right.
Maybe you're rich enough to hire people to manicure it for you. But if you're not, you're going to have to be out there with the mower and like plucking every weed. Or you could have that kind of beautiful, free-flowing, natural grass and flowers and birds wild look. I'm going to go with the wild look on my comments now. I don't have any time anymore, and I do love all the people who are the continual commenters, the kind and nice people who thank me and make genuine statements, and I have responded to them. I just I can't do it anymore. So I am going with the natural look. We're going with the natural look now in my comment section.
Yeah, good for you. Because like I said, mine are disabled, and I still get people who figure out a way to reach me in some way. I can't tell you how many emails I've received where they will tell me that I am not who I say I am, that there's a reason why I'm disabling these comments. You need to enable these comments. If you don't enable these comments, how could you possibly be in the alternative community? How could you stand for liberty, truth, the American way? I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yes. And even if you enabled your comments, you would have other comments by that same person in your comment section looking at your credibility and finding it to be lacking.
Yeah.
So there's no way to win.
Yeah.
You have to do what's right for you, and what's right for you is disabling comments, and what's right for me is enabling. It's a new thing I'm going to start doing, and just letting people say what they want. And the best thing for me to do would be to just not read them.
Yeah, don't read them.
Now, I'm going to be the interviewer here. Can't help myself, sorry.
Go ahead.
Have you had videos made about you?
Not that I'm aware of. Occasionally, I will do a search in YouTube and in Google to see what comes up with my name and with my channel. Mm-hmm. And I haven't found anything yet. Now, that doesn't mean that something's not out there or somebody's not working on something. But so to answer your question, I don't believe so.
All right. Well, that's another thing that you find within YouTube is you'll get people saying nice things about you. You'll get people saying the horrible things, as we've both discussed here. But then you'll get people who actually have felt so angry, they've decided to take it to the streets and spend their valuable time here on Earth to make a video about you as a person. And those videos are never anything of value, I've found. If somebody has a problem with me, instead of making a video using my image and distorting it in a funhouse fashion and saying that I'm ugly, which has nothing to do with the flat Earth, by the way, and I know I'm not ugly. Instead of doing that, why don't you make a video about your belief system and use your time to show what you believe in, having nothing to do with me, but different than my belief system, which I obviously don't agree with. So that is a sad statement about humanity, that people feel that need. But that's how those magazines that you see in your grocery store depending on what grocery store you shop in. That's why those exist, like the Inquirer and
Right.
the Globe. The Globe of all names, yes. These magazines exist because people want to see dirt. They want to see Kim Kardashian has cellulite. It makes them feel better about themselves. And so the people who create those videos, making fun of other YouTube content providers, using their image or taking excerpts from their videos and putting it in there, make themselves feel better because there's something lacking inside them, and also make people who are, through prurient interest, wanting to feel better about their own life by seeing that YouTube content provider who's somewhat popular be torn down. That's why people buy the Inquirer. I never have seen a person put an Inquirer in their shopping cart at a grocery store, but that thing sells to somebody.
Yeah, it's a level of dysfunction that is hard to get your head wrapped around, especially if you're a clear-thinking, critical-thinking person. It's a very, very odd type of behavior where in order to make yourself feel good, you have to go tear somebody else down. Instead of putting material out there and standing behind your opinions, your thoughts, or whatever your research happens to be, they'll go tear somebody down. I mean, if again, I'll say it, folks, if you're listening to this, hopefully you are, if you've got something to say and you don't agree with me or you don't agree with Patricia or whoever, then go put your own stuff out there. We're doing this, and by doing this, I mean, we're putting ourselves out there, yes, but putting ourselves out there doesn't mean that we have to be attacked. Plain and simple.
I use my real name.
Yeah, me too.
My real face, obviously. And I film in my apartment. I've even have my 3 cats sometimes make an appearance on some of my more casual videos with Mark Sargent. I talk about real things. I talk about my family. I have a Facebook, which is 90% open, meaning it's not set to private or friends only. Maybe it's even 99% open. I've maxed out at 5,000 friends just from flat earth sort of things, as well as the veganism. It's a combo of those friends. And then friends I've had since childhood are on there too, who are neither flat earthers or vegan, but they've just stuck with me through the ride. And I salute them because their world's completely different than those things. They probably think I'm crazy, but at least they're still there just based on the fact that I grew up with them or something. But my Facebook has tons of albums on it of things from back when I used to own a clothing store. I have a lot of fashion albums on Facebook that anybody might want to look through or not. There's tons of pictures of myself and my family growing up, me and everything involving that, and even my great-grandparents and such. All these things are open for anybody to go look at, meaning as long as you've got a Facebook account or can use somebody else's, you can go on Facebook and look through these albums. I actually even have my apartment, like room by room, because I'm into interior decor. And I made that long before I had YouTube channel. And I left it up there, and I figured people would think I was trying to show off. I mean, I don't live in a palace. I live in an apartment. So if anybody thinks that's trying to show off, well, sorry. No, there's no marble floors, so gold toilet seats or anything like that. But it's an apartment, but I made it cute. But those things are there. People have accused me of not being a real person, as I said earlier, being a CIA agent set here to destroy the flat earth, which I've failed at, actually, thus far, no matter how hard I try by interviewing flat earthers with all sorts of different flat earth beliefs. But, they say that, the room in which I record is a set. Stage, that I have professional lighting and a director and editor. I do a Google Hangout. Anybody can do a Google Hangout now that I know how to do a Google Hangout anyway. You turn it on, let it rip, and it feeds right to YouTube. All the mistakes are in there. I don't edit anything out. I had a couple of videos where actually the Google Hangout disconnected, and I didn't even know how to edit the 2 parts together as one, so I had a part 1 and part 2. So that no longer exists. I deleted it from my channel because the very end of the video, I had the camera still on where I'm trying to contact Michael Lewis on my cell phone. It's like ridiculous. And I don't even still know how to. I could have edited it together, but I just didn't care. I'm like, that's such an old video. It's of no value. I'll delete it anyway.
Yeah.
But if people have problems with me or issues with me or don't believe I'm a real person, you could do one of 2 things. 3 things. You can message me, and I'll answer a concern if you've got one. My email is available through Facebook, available through YouTube. It's misssteere@yahoo.com or misssteere@gmail.com. 2 emails. You could email me a question. I'll answer it. generally speaking. I'm going to try not to go into my comment section, so don't ask me a question there because it's just too headache producing. I've got too many videos to be able to keep up with that anymore. If you've got a problem with me that way, or you could go to my Facebook and just look through my pictures and say, well, yeah, that's pretty legit there. That looks like her in her high school gown and cap getting the diploma. She went to that high school. I can actually Google her and see she went to that high school on the actual high school's website, not classmates.com. It's there. Oh, look, there's her mom's funeral, and there she's listed and where she lives in Houston. Okay, that's a real person there. If you've got a problem with me, you can go look on Facebook and look at my mom and dad if you want. Okay, if you're that obsessed with me. But making videos saying that I'm Linda Moulton Howe, who's had tons of plastic surgery, to now reappear as Patricia Steere.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, that's a good one. She's over 70 years old. Must have been some pretty good plastic surgery. She's undergoing much plastic surgery, ongoing plastic surgery. I'm like, well, I do so many frequent shows, I think you'd see the bandages if that were the case. If you've got a problem with any of those things, you could do one of three things. Look through my material, Google me, that sort of thing. Or you could ask me yourself. Or you could stop watching my videos.
Right. There you go.
It's like three things, do one of the three, and then everything's solved. It's really pretty easy. I've never made a video about anybody else, and I never will.
No.
There's people who make videos in the YouTube world and conspiracy world who I don't like what they do. I don't believe what they believe. But I'm not going to make an anti-fill-in-the-blank video. I just ignore that person. Even if they make a video about me. I laugh first and then I ignore that person. Actually, every single hater video about me has only done one thing, helped me. Because somebody will see that video just come up on their feed, whether they hate me or not. They might click on it, and that person who made the video will get a hit. But if it's a person who doesn't know who I am, they're going to be like, whoa, Patricia Steere, who's that? Put my name into YouTube and they come up with my channel, and then they'll watch a video, or at least a few seconds of a video. That video gets another hit count, and maybe 50% of them are going to be like, I like what she's talking about. I'm going to subscribe. So it's like free advertisement. I encourage people to make more hater videos about me, please. I really don't. I'm joking. But they don't hurt me. They're sad. They're a sad aspect of humanity and a waste of time, and they're kind of funny, and they're just an artifact of being involved as a public figure on any platform. These things probably will occur. Nothing we can do about it. No way to stop it. I don't try to stop it. I actually monetize my videos, and I make hardly anything off of it. If anybody knows anything about monetization in YouTube, you need to have so many subscribers to make anything more than a couple $100 a month.
Right.
I don't ask for donations. Nothing wrong with people who do, and I don't sell anything. Nothing wrong with people who do. People can feel free to do as you wish. But people say that I'm doing it for the money. You know, if I'm doing it for the money, the microphone I bought for my show cost more than the amount of money I've probably made on YouTube since August. So no, you know.
And there's no issue with, in my mind, if somebody wants to make a couple of bucks, make some money doing their shows or having a YouTube channel. I mean, there's this really kind of a weird thought process that people have that says if you are, quote unquote, in the truth movement or the alternative research movement, that you should have nothing to do with monetization, you shouldn't make any money on your work, and so on. And in the meantime, though, the groups, the organizations, the people that are funneling the lies to us, well, they get paid a fortune to put propaganda out. They get paid a fortune to indoctrinate the masses. But if you're putting your work out and I'm putting my work out, and God forbid you should want to monetize, I mean, you get clobbered for that. And it's really a very strange way of looking at it. As long as what the person is doing is sincere and it's genuine and they can make money at it, then God bless them.
Don't we wish we lived in a society that, well, of course, we probably would be better off living in a society where there was no actual money. But okay, we're talking some kind of ideal thing. In a realistic society, don't you wish we lived in a society where you could make money doing something that you loved?
Right.
Hey, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Why do you have to work as a guy in a drive-thru at Burger King? Instead, wouldn't it be great if you could make YouTube videos talking about something you're passionate about and make money out of it? That's fantastic. Somebody who's able to take themselves off the grid and support themselves with YouTube, which I'm far from doing at this point and may never ever get to that point. It's not even really a goal. Hey, hats off to them. Just like somebody who can write a book and through their book sales, if they're in the alternative movement, they support themselves through that. That's fantastic. You used your own mind to create work that you now pay your food bill and rent with. That's, wow. You're not stuck in a cubicle working for a company that's tearing society apart. Fantastic. Love it. Wish I could do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's key. You know, I've had conversations with others that are in the truth movement and who've written books and the like, and we have all concurred that there's no money in this business. I mean, no matter how much you try, because there's no catalyst to make sure you're successful. So everything that somebody does, it takes an awful lot of work and time and effort just to make even a couple of bucks.
Look what we're doing right now. We're talking to each other. This is, in the middle of our day. This is nothing I'm getting paid for, and neither are you.
Right.
We're not making money off of this. It may go up on our individual channels and create an income stream of $15 each or something. I don't know.
Maybe, right.
I don't know. I won't even monetize yours. I don't think, I don't monetize other people's stuff. I do with other people. But you would. And that's how I do it. People can choose to do it their own way. I don't think it's fair for me to monetize my presence on another person's video, but I will put it on my channel. But everyone can make up their own rules. Anyway, we're doing this, and 2-3 hours of my time to me is worth something. It doesn't mean it means it's worth something monetarily that I deserve to be rewarded, but if I do get a few pennies from that, fine. If you have a problem with that, you're working at a job, doing whatever you're doing, and you get paid for it. This isn't my job, it's my passion, but we all wish we could have a job and passion be the same. So this little aspect of my life that I'm doing, a couple hours every couple of days doing a video, if I make $15 from it, hats off to me.
Right.
I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not making anybody watch the video either. The only thing I wish I could control would be what exact commercials are going on my YouTube channel. You can control it slightly to a certain degree, but every once in a while there's something that slips in there.
Yeah.
And it's something you don't believe in. You're like, I'm vegan, so I get this like, welcome to OK Corral Steakhouse, or something at the beginning of my video. I mean, not exactly, but it's like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. But you can't, they rotate. You can't control it. So.
Well, Patricia, this has been a great discussion. So do you have any final words before we head out?
Oh, I don't know. I just wish people would be nicer to each other. Be nicer to each other. Treat other people the way you wish to be treated. And we're all looking to free ourselves from control systems. Even people who are in the matrix, they're complaining about the taxes and the roads not being fixed. They don't want to be under the control system we're currently under either. And so anybody who's attempting, stepping out of the fray, stepping out of the masses and trying to do something, cut them a little slack with what they're doing. Let them be themselves. In fact, even praise them for being themselves, even when you don't agree with them. And guess what happens? A tiny part of the world becomes a better place.
Right.
And you're part of that. And that can only do good.
Excellent. Excellent. And where can people find out more about you and your work?
All right. Well, the channel on YouTube that I do is called Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And on the channel, if you click the About page, you can email me, but I'll give you the email address now. Miss Steere, Miss M-I-S-S, Steere, S-T-E-E-R-E, my last name, at gmail.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Patricia Steere. The one that has red hair, the only Patricia Steere with red hair. So that's the ways people can get a hold of me or see what I'm doing. And I appreciate you taking your time to have me on your show.
No, I'm so glad that we connected, and I'd love you to come back.
Oh, I'd love to be back as
Talk
well.
some more.
That'd be good. Yeah. Talk shop.
All right, Patricia. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, and I know you're under the weather, and so you're a real champ for sticking it out for an hour and a half, and come back anytime.
Thank you. And you know what? During this course of the interview, in the last 5 minutes, my headache slightly lifted. So.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if you had anything to do with
That's
it or
my
just
good deed for the day.
smiling while talking maybe helped me a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for doing the good deed.
All right,
All right.
Patricia. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
And that concludes another Sage of Quay interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are listed in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.
I just wanna be left alone. I don't need you after me. I know my way back home, so please go away, let me be. And I'll drink what I want to drink. I don't need your ball and chain. And I'll think what I want to think. And I think, yeah, you're all insane.